Hi folks, Aaron Cusack here of A-Tek Coaching. Now, every player wants to be able to master the ball. So in this video, I'm going to give you some quick tips on how you can convert your ball mastery techniques into game moves. Now let's start at the beginning, ball mastery. Ball mastery is the technical foundation that is essential if you want to become a skillful player. Because the biggest difference between technique and skill is the fact that the skill requires a decision. We're still applying the same techniques, but in this scenario, being able to know where, when, and how to apply that technique is what makes us a skillful player. But in order for us to become skillful, we need to have the cornerstones of the techniques available and in our locker so that we can apply it. Now, I'm not going to go through a variation of different ball techniques. There are thousands of videos available online, but what I'm going to try to hopefully hone in on is giving you an appreciation of how a technique, a ball mastery technique, can become a game move. Now, in an ideal situation, a game move will be best practiced against an opponent in a 1v1 situation, simply because the movement of the defender will help govern my decision as a player with the ball at my feet as to where I might go. So if a player comes on my left-hand side here and there's a pocket of space available there, I'm naturally going to try and shift the ball away from the pressure and run into the free space. But when I'm practicing on my own, I don't have that luxury. But what I can do is get a sense of feel, and I can get a sense of appreciation of what a game move might look like and also feel like, so that when it comes to practice against real people, I can give it a go. So let's start with a technique, so ball mastery technique. Now essentially, when we do some ball mastery techniques, we want to use the inside, the outsides, and the sole of our feet, both feet. And if you go on YouTube and type in ball mastery videos, you will see hundreds and thousands of variations where people are able to practice a number of different exercises where they're moving in and out, doing 30 seconds of this. Okay, so I'm going to start there, but I'm not going to go into just a normal way of doing some ball mastery techniques. I'm going to quickly move on to the game moves. Okay, but if I want to do a ball mastery technique initially, I need to know what that looks like or feels like for me to put it into a game move. So here we go. So I'm just going to do some sole drags. Okay, so if I'm going to do a sole drag where I'm just moving it left and right using the sole of my feet, okay, to manipulate the ball. Now this is a functional move because I'm manipulating the ball left and right and I'm getting a feel for it. So I am basically using my tools to manipulate the ball, okay? And I can change that variation. I can go with the insides if I want to. So I can go inside of the left, inside of the right, and so forth. So I can get into a nice rhythm where I'm using more of a chop now or a cut as opposed to a drag with the sole. I can also change and go with the outside of the foot. So I'm constantly using different parts of my feet to do my ball mastery. So I'm doing my ball mastery activities here. I can also do some feints. So I can come with the ball here and I can practice my feints and my step overs to get a feel of what that is about as a ball mastery activity. I could even chop and then go into a little feint if I want to. Okay, so as part of my development, that's integral. But if that's all I do in my practice, I don't really have an awareness of what that might look like when it comes to game day. So the biggest difference between a ball mastery technique and a game move is an exit point. And the exit point needs to be real. And what I mean by an exit point is a change of direction, a change of speed, or an acceleration. And if I can practice those, that will give me more appreciation of what to do after I execute my mastery technique in a game following that decision. So here's an example. As I've already alluded to, here's my sole moves. So I'm moving the ball left and right. Okay. If I want to put an exit point on that, I'm not going to do a series of sole moves combined together. What I'm going to do is do them individually. So an exit point is I'm going to move the ball this way and I'm going to exit this way quite quickly. So So I'm going to move the ball here and I'm going to exit and drive off. And the reason I'm going to do that is it gives me an opportunity to explode off. Okay, so I'm going to go with the same again. So I'm going to push, sole, exit point and go. And that example there is just one variation of where you can practice a ball mastery technique, but with an exit point to get away. So remember, when you're practicing your ball mastery techniques, try and break them down into three major categories. We have cuts, which are predominantly used with the inside and the outsides of your feet. Drags, which are predominantly used with the sole of your foot. And feints, which are a body move. Okay, so let's recap. We have cuts that are using the insides and the outsides of our feet. Okay, that allows us to chop the ball, essentially. We have drags, which is using the sole of the foot to move the ball from one direction to another. And we have feints. Now, feints are a body move. So if I'm going to do some step overs, I could practice my step overs really quickly like this and manipulate the ball. And I've seen a ton of videos online which are great for developing stability and kind of putting load through singular legs, etc. So this is great when I'm moving the ball. But I also need to think about moving my upper body if I want to convert it into a game move. And I'll show you what I mean. Now, if I practice this, I'm going to do a change of direction where I use the inside of one foot and the outside of the other. Okay, and I can now accelerate and change direction and go into that new area. So I can do both feet and push. And that gives me a load, but it also gives me a realistic movement. If you now watch my upper body, as I come in this way, everything suggests I'm going to go off to my left because my majority of my weight is on my front leg. But at the last moment, I'm then going to change direction and push away. So that's a body move. With a feint, you have to try and practice mimicking that. So now, rather than me do this, where my upper body is limited in its range of motion, now I'm going to try and do that. Because that will encourage, if there is a defender to think I'm going that way, which off balances them and then I run into the free space. So there are variations of how to do a step over. But what I want you to think about practicing is the two. So I can do the one where I'm running at you and I can do step overs and I can escape, or I can do the ones where they're not moving as much at pace. They're a bit slower. So they give the impression I'm going to go. And now I step and now I can accelerate. Now, developing mastery techniques is essential. We've already established that. But you also need to think about combining those mastery techniques as well. So if we're taking the first stage of transferring this into a game move, I might want to think about mastery techniques that I know I would use in a game. Now, I know there's a raft of videos out there that offer flicks and tricks and they look really showcasey, but you have to ask yourself this question: how often would you use it in a game and how often would it be successful? In your own time, it's important for you to enjoy the ball, practice your flicks and tricks and things like that. But what you mustn't do is rely on something that doesn't have consistency. And think about that, okay? So when you're sat down and you're deciding which moves are best for you, could you use them on a more regular basis in a game, which will drive up your consistency and therefore increase your game performance? So I like doing sole moves and I like doing cuts. So my first move might be a sole move into a cut, okay? But I'm going to deliberately extend my exit point so it becomes a bit quicker, so I feel that I am running away from something. Remember, this is practicing in isolation. This isn't doing it with a defender. But if I can try and mimic that, then I know I've got the capability of applying it in a game, okay? So here we are. So I'm going to do a sole move first. So I'm going to go into a sole move here, Now I'm going to cut and I'm going to accelerate away. And I'm going to do it with both feet. Now I'm right-footed. It's important for me to practice it with both feet, but there might be scenarios in a game where I wouldn't use my non-dominant foot, which is okay, but it's important to practice it. And it's okay to get it wrong as well. Okay, so I'm going to have a go with my left foot here, sole, cut, accelerate and go. So let's continue with our ball mastery activities and then think, right, okay, how can I make it a game move? Remember, the recap, game move needs to have a realistic exit point. So I'm going to start with some ball mastery again. So I'm going to do some of my favorites, which is my Iniestas, my little double touch with both feet, learning to slide the ball left and right. I'm then going to go into a sole move with it. Entry point now might be a little bit slower, where I'm almost just nudging the ball. And then I'm going to think about doing my double touch with a sole turn behind me as an exit point. So double touch, sole, exit and go.